Church, we're back in Genesis 6. I want to kind of put this to bed, so to speak, and for lack of a better term, let's stop the insanity. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Paul mentioned the simplicity of the gospel is what's missing. And I use this topic because it's literally a no-brainer, yet it's running like a wildfire. And it's turned into wildfires out there. Why? Because it sells books. It sounds fabulous. The Nephilim, big, gigantic creatures. Yeah, it's a big, gigantic, make-believe imagination of man's heart, which is what took them down. That's what you see in Genesis 6 here. And as we referred to in the last study, Genesis 4:26 was when men began to call upon the name of the Lord. And that would have been very possibly the time of Job as well, because when you read the book of Job, chapter 1, they refer to the sons of God coming before the throne. Satan showing up too. Well, of course he is. He's the accuser of the brethren. He's going after the church. He's trying to get some mud to stick. Because when you read Job, you see nothing mentioned of temples or laws. So to me, that indicates that very possibly it was back in this time of Enos as well, in Genesis 4:26, when men began to call upon the name of the Lord. What I want to talk about today is the qualifications of a son of God. Because we see in Genesis 6:2 that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair and took them wives, all of which they chose. You notice they made that choice, more likely based on the outward appearance and not so much the inward. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he also is flesh, yet his days should be 120 years. And there were giants in the earth. There's giants in the earth today. The word giant does refer to Nephilim, but it's also, what I saw mentioned, was a bully or tyrant. Well, there were many bullies and tyrants throughout history. We have them today, in fact. And it doesn't always refer to larger than life creatures. Yes, there were some big dudes back then, as there are today, but as we discussed in the last study, this was an abnormality with the growth, not a result of fallen angels. In fact, whenever you read the Bible and they dealt with angels, they never looked. Jacob wrestled with an angel, right? Joshua dealt with the captain of the host, Joshua chapter 5. You can read that. Well, he never looked and said, oh, I dealt with the captain of host and it was huge. He was larger. No. Abraham dealt with angels going to Sodom and Gomorrah. They didn't look any different than any other man. So I don't, what a giant fabrication. And as we pointed out in the last study, this intermingling of mankind. So today, who are the sons of God? Are there qualifications? Well, I threw this out last time. Let's start with Romans 8. I'm using this as an example because I want you in any situation to rightly divide. Back it up with the word of God in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. I'll give you easily 2 or 3 witnesses today. Romans 8:14, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. Oh, so would a fallen angel be led by the Spirit of God? Well, no. In fact, thus the term fallen, right, church? Come on. Is it that simple? Yes. Is mankind that stupid? Yes. When they lean back to their own understanding, when they rely on their own carnal understanding, because that's the enmity. We go on, for you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you've received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children or sons of God. And if sons, then heirs, heirs of God, joint heirs with Christ, so that we suffer with him, we may be also glorified together. Oh, boy, that just threw Genesis 6:4 right down the toilet, didn't it? Even though we have, like I said, the last study, Many people claim to see gigantic creatures today, Yetis, Bigfoots, and whatnot. And we have. I know I was reading history of these large people that have, but it was a birth defect. There was a guy back in the 20s. He grew 8 feet 11 inches tall, but he had nothing but health issues. Not long ago, they had a giant wrestler. They called him the Giant. And he died prematurely because of health issues. His organs were going faster than they should have been. They were larger than they should have been. It had to do with a pituitary gland. It was a birth defect. And he died before his time. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. John, Book of John, chapter 1, verse 11. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. And you can read the whole again we're just highlighting verses. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. Wow. So you have to receive and believe to be a son of God. Would fallen angels fall in that category? No. No, they would not, ladies and gentlemen. Not even close. Well, what does the Bible say about angels? Let's get another perspective from Paul in the book of, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 1. And it's referring to the Lord in verse 4, that he was made so much better than the angels, as he has by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. For unto which of the angels said he at any time, you are my son, this day have I begotten thee? ? And again, I will be to him a father, and he shall be a son. Well, you know how many of them the angels refer to as son? 0. Nada. Zip. Well, you go on in verse 13. And to which of the angels said he at any time, sit on my right hand till I make thine enemies thy footstool? Are they not ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who shall be heirs of salvation? When you read consistently throughout the Bible, and it refers to angels, it refers to the angels of the Lord. You never see an angel referred to as a son. And none of the angels are sitting at that's reserved at the right hand for the Son. And us, to those that receive him, to them that are led by the Spirit. You're considered to be a son. You're a son. You're an heir. Those are the sons of God. But never once did he say to any of the angels, thou art my son. Not once. 0. So how do we twist and turn this stuff? Because the devil preys on the weak, the accuser of the brethren. Behold, I'm in 1 John 3. I'm sorry. I'm excited, and yet I'm just, church, embrace the truth. Stop the insanity. Behold, what manner of love the Father, 3:1 of 1 John, the Father has bestowed upon us, on us. Do you notice us? Not angels, us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore, the world knows us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. And it does not yet appear what we shall be, but we shall know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that has his hope in him purifies himself even as he is pure. Wow. Pretty simple. Is it that? Yes, it is that simple. Straightforward simplicity of the gospel. And yet people are buying this nonsense left and right. And not just that, but all these other man-made, silly, stupid doctrines. I mean, it's like comic books. Their imagination runs wild. Oh, we have these superhuman creatures out there running around. Where are they? Why don't we see them now? What stopped, what killed off the bloodline? I mean, if it happened in the days of Noah, it would have to be out there now. Where are they? They're between their ears. That's where they are, in their imagination. Their foolish heart was darkened. Revelation 21, verse 6. And he said unto me, it is done. I'm Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is the thirst of the fountain of water of life freely. Freely, freely receive, freely give. I don't know how. And then people write these books and then they have the gall to charge you for it. And as we read in a couple studies before, Paul talked about in 2 Corinthians 11 how you allow people to literally slap you in the face. It's a slap in the face that they present these false doctrines and you buy into it. Why isn't the Christian studying the word for himself? Verse 7, and he that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son, not fallen angel. Do you see the qualifications of what it takes? Are you getting the gist of this? Because it really is that simple. And that's what Revelation 12, 10, and 11 talk about. The accuser of the brethren is cast down. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. You have to be an overcomer. That's part of the qualifications of being a son. Philippians 2, and like I said, we want to back this up. What does the Bible, scriptures consistently tell you, speak to you? Philippians 2:12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. In other words, all scripture is given by inspiration of God. Dig in. That's why he gave it to you. What are you doing that's more important than spending time in this word? Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God which works in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Do all things without murmurings and disputings, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God. Are fallen angels blameless and harmless? I'm going to have to throw you a no on that one. That's why they're fallen. They're not a part of the family of God anymore. It's impossible. They were never called the sons of God from day one. In the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain, neither labored in vain. In other words, I'm not buying into all these phony, false, goofy doctrines. Galatians 3:26, for you are the sons of God by faith in Jesus Christ. Well, there's fallen angels. They're not faithful anymore, are they? No, it's because of their unfaithfulness. Down they went. We talked in the last study, they used the term whoring. They go on a whoring. You can read that in Hosea chapter 3 or chapter 1. Hosea married a prostitute. Now it says she conceived a son in the beginning, but it talked about children of the whoredoms in Hosea 2:5 as well. Well, she kept conceiving. Were they all Hosea's offspring? Thus, they gone a whoring. Well, Hosea used that to write about Israel, how they had gone a whoring after other gods. And we see that in James again, the spiritual. You adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not friendship with the world is enmity with God? That's why the Lord said, because of fornication, that's what breaks off a marriage. Well, that's what breaks off your marriage between you and God as well, spiritual fornication. And Galatians 4 talks about 4:4, but when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law. And if you notice throughout creation, the sons are made, you have to be born of the flesh and of the spirit. To redeem them that were under the law, then we might receive the adoption of sons. Because you are sons of God, he sent forth the spirit of his son in your hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Therefore now art no more a servant. You're no more a servant to sin, but a son. And if a son, an heir of God through Christ. So if you're not a servant to sin, then you're able to serve and be considered a part of the family of God. Matthew 16, and it's Matthew 16. The Lord asked him, who does men say that I am? 16:13, he came into Caesarea. Who do you say that I, the Son of Man, am? Well, John the Baptist, Jeremiah. Verse 15, he said, well, who do you say? Simon Peter said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. He was the Son. Christ. Well, Christ had the qualifications of being a son. You have to be Christ-like in order to be considered a son. Fallen angels are not Christ-like. They're not blameless. They're not harmless. That's why they're fallen. And in 17:2, as long as you're in Matthew, and he was transfigured before them, his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment white as snow. And there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Then Peter answered and said, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you will, we'll make 3 tabernacles, one for you, Moses, and Elijah. And while he spoke, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. You see that at his baptism, Mark 1:11, God acknowledging Jesus Christ as his Son, which, folks, you want him looking down at you and saying, hey, this is my beloved Son as well, in whom I'm well pleased. There's qualifications and requirements for all that, ladies and gentlemen. So I bring this up, and I'll probably finish the study today and then go, whoops, I had one more verse, but I think I'll leave it at that, because as many as are led by the Spirit, they are the sons of God. So what does the Bible consistently say throughout? And again, what we talked about in the last study, the intermingling. And as they refer to in the Old Testament, they've gone a-whoring after these other gods. It's consistently happened throughout. And today, we have many people that are influenced by the enemy. He will go before the throne and try to accuse the brethren. It's kind of like in football. They set up a defense. Well, they get on, the defense sets up on the field in front of the other team. They don't stand on the sidelines and watch and let the offense run down there unopposed. No, they're going to oppose the team that's a threat, that's trying to get across the goal line. The church, ladies and gentlemen, the accuser of the brethren. So, folks, why don't you grab some living water? Start drinking some living water. Start dousing these silly fires that man tries to pawn off. And again, I may or may not do a step, but go back on your own and look. There's nowhere in the Bible where he refers to the angels as anything other than angels, the angel of the Lord. It's consistent throughout the Bible. So, folks, it's time for you to stay consistent. Put out the wildfires and please stop